Hey everyone, what's up? It's Franco from Frank Analysis. And today I'm going to do a reading of chapter 2 of The Tao of Systems Thinking by Michael McCurley. Right? And then again, if you want to know more about this book, like I gave this book a review, um, and I gave reasons for why I think you should read this book. Pretty much, this book can help you become a better thinker and to understand the world around you better, right? And it can help you analyze things that are happening in politics a lot better. It can help you understand the feedback loops of certain things that can affect other things and understand how all these different aspects in our world are all connected. All right, so let's start here with chapter 2. It's called Balance. Number 10. To maintain a balance that unifies your energies, you must be highly flexible. By adapting to the cycles within systems, you will discover their hidden virtues. And again, if you have any thoughts or questions or anything, you can write something in the chat. And if any thoughts come up in my part, I'll say something as well. 2.10 Understanding and Leadership. Leaders who have a real understanding of systems recognize that social systems can function in harmony because they're interrelated, like natural systems, with one another. Those who have this wider perception are more flexible and learn to work without self-interest because they care about others and realize that this is the best way to ensure our well-being as individuals and as a species. The best leaders have an essential understanding of how things work. Those who understand the balancing relations of cyclic systems can govern with intelligence. They are not trapped by their own subjective experiences, but instead comprehend a wider scope and larger perspective in terms of space and time. And as a result, their decisions go beyond day-to-day concerns, seasonal considerations, or election cycles. They see humanity as a whole throughout time. So what this part is pretty much saying is that it's important for leaders to take a step back and not be so consumed by their subjective beliefs. And I see this a lot in politics. I see this a lot in people on Twitter and stuff. They let their wishful thinking and subjective opinions consume them so much so that they're not seeing things objectively. So in order to see things objectively, you have to separate what's a fact and what's an opinion. All right, some people thinking that, oh, like if we try this method, they get so emotionally attached to a method, whether it be voting through electoral politics or thinking that a certain political party or a certain politician is going to save them. They become that political party or that politician or that method's lawyer. And it gets to a point where they're not even considering all these pretty good criticisms that other people have of those politicians or party or methods that other people are rightfully pointing out. Number 11. While material things have their advantages, what truly becomes useful is to discover their intangible relationships. We may often upset the balance of systems because we don't recognize that certain small variables can have great impacts in the long run. 2.11 Tangible versus intangible values. While most people focus their attention on the concrete materialistic world, a few understand deeper intangible relationships. This isn't surprising because people who manage superficial economic systems tend to separate us from the basic resources we depend on. This is more from intentional design than coincidence because it causes more concern about symbols of artificial currencies which fluctuate and are only worth what people think they're worth. While we build physical and organizational structures, what lies within them has greater value. This is similar to a parallel we might draw about containers and what they contain. What is within has greater value, but we must also consider what holds them. So value comes from inside and out, more from potential or purpose than from physical reality. Number 12. Pursuit or sensorial experiences can confuse the mind. One who is wise will learn to look within. Although we may depend on what is immediately visible and apparent, looks can be deceiving. What we see first may be symptoms of causes which aren't so easy to find. 2.12. What limits having more? Overwhelming the senses won't increase knowledge or experience, but might indeed mute or limit them. The same is true of growth or progress. Within what causes growth are the seeds of other feedbacks which will limit or stop it. Chasing after externals doesn't increase what people value, though some assume that wealth creates value and makes people valuable. Ultimately, wealth makes a few people more powerful and gives them greater abilities to control others, but not usually for reasons that benefit the majority. Can we really possess the earth any more than our individual lives allow? To extend beyond what a few selfish individuals may control in their lifetimes, a small minority of individuals have created corporations which embody and consolidate corporate power beyond single lifetimes, thus perpetuating selfishness and greed on organizational and institutional levels, transcending individual life cycles. Although the value of this is questionable, governments nearly everywhere in the world have ratified the possession of private property in ways that deny direct access to resources for large proportions of our populations. Contrary to what most of us need or desire, the rights of elites to control resources and possess or own more property implicitly exclude the rights of others to do the same. So right there, that's another critique of capitalism. Number 13, failure can be an agreeable surprise. The humility of getting up again helps you to grow. Far from being something shameful or embarrassing, we should value every mistake we make or discover as an opportunity for fixing an issue or problem. 2.13. Why systems fail and what makes them work. Failures with the systems we have created might produce important advances if we could change and learn from them. We would probably not advance or improve if we didn't fail at times or notice when we need to do things better. We should also recognize stagnant social systems, which have frozen development and denied benefits to billions of people all over the world. These social failures have been institutionalized, but not without reason. Those who benefit from all this don't wish to lose control by sharing more equitably with others. We may be surprised when we make new discoveries about improving how things work. Our discoveries about systems go beyond our senses, beyond what can be easily quantified or measured. By understanding these intangible forms, we can discover principles which govern the universe. Our species is subject to those same universal laws which require greater wisdom. Governing leadership requires empathy that many leaders no longer have. To administer our world, we need to care about our species as a whole, not as specific local or regional groups. This includes all political affiliations and religions. All right, number 14. There are frequencies of forces we do not sense, and yet they are all around us, inaudible, incorporate, and without visible form. They continually flow through all systems. To know their origins is the beginning of wisdom. 2.14 Forms and structures. The forms and structures of many dynamic systems extend beyond what most people understand. A mathematical basis for them, for example, is calculus. These exist without physical forms, but they can be expressed mathematically. We may not see everything we try to discover, but physical evidence for systems is all around us. Knowing the origin is the Tao of systems thinking. Many people try to dominate systems without a real understanding of how they work. Such attempts may fail because the behaviors of many systems are counterintuitive. Selfishness is not the beginning, but the end of wisdom. So those who are selfish may end up doing the opposite of what they think needs to be done. So the more selfish we act, the more counterproductive or the more counterintuitive our methods become. Right? So that's why it's really important to not be so arrogant and not be so selfish about what you want, like what you want to be the case, what you want to be true. You have to acknowledge that some things that you think are true may not be true, and that requires a lot of self-awareness and a lot of selflessness. Or you have to let go of your egoic, selfish wants, and you have to recognize those. All right, number 15. The wisdom of the ages is subtle, flexible, profound, and global. Those who study this know they can never know enough, and because of this, they learn to understand. 2.15. The nature of understanding systems. People who are skilled at systems thinking have a wisdom which is subtle, flexible, profound, and global. Such an understanding is subtle because it isn't selfish or subjective. It is flexible because it includes considerations for different options or outcomes. It is profound because it deals with root causes of issues rather than their symptoms. And it is global because only global solutions will actually work. Number 16. The supreme cycle is emptiness and return. Clear your mind first to find your destiny. Realizing that destiny is to find eternal purpose, and from that you can understand everything else. 2.16. What systems thinkers understand. Those who work with systems know that their understanding is never complete and can always be improved. Because those who are aware haven't learned everything, they can return to learn new principles which lie beyond their imaginations. And once these are discovered, new understandings will change how we work with systems. To flourish, we must return to our roots and find relations which extend beyond time and temporal manifestations. To do social justice, we must understand systemics more completely, and only through justice can people govern effectively. All right, so this is pretty much saying that in order to do social justice more efficiently, we have to understand all the systems, so understand how different communities, how different ethnicities may be affected differently because of our politics and because of our government. And by fully understanding that, that can bring us closer to coming to a solution to give everybody more equality. Number 17. The best work you can do is to convince others to carry your cause and make it their own. 2.17. What governs us are not our own rules. Those who govern the least are able to govern best. People who govern repressively will be noticed and despised. Those who rule through fear are also defied. Such conditions cannot last. One who governs best shows or teaches others to make his cause their own. Thus, when these people act, it will be as if it were their own cause. They will say, "We have done this," and then they will act as if they freely chose what they are doing, without seeing the invisible hand that guides them. So this is pretty much saying that good leaders are trying to do what's best for everyone. Like, they're not acting out in selfishness. The best leaders are those that are selfless and are considerate of everybody. And by doing that, this creates some inspiration. Those that were being led are thinking, this guy was looking out for me. And they find that inspirational. They want to do that. They want to help other people just like the leader that inspired them helped them. Number 18. Those who abandon a general understanding of systems allow confusion to reign. Although they may seem intelligent and smart, the most they can attain is a paternalistic system without harmony. 2.18. Subjective intelligence. Many people depend upon their own subjective intelligence, which has no relation to systems thinking. More often than not, such thinking is relegated to selfish objectives and motives based on individual survival modes, what social Darwinists call survival of the fittest. In many cases, such intelligence is derived from desires for personal power or profit. Although people may seem smart, when they show others economic, material, or social strategies, this limits the scope of wisdom for our species as a whole. Why? Because it tends to take resources away from the majority to benefit the minority. That right there is another criticism of capitalism. It's pointing out how these people at the top right now, the ruling class, are acting in their primal instincts, are acting in survival mode. Like they want more and more and more resources for themselves at the expense of everybody else. That right there is a lack of self-awareness. Those leaders, or not really leaders, but the ruling class are giving into their primal instincts more so than their self-awareness. They're not very self-aware. This is the same for politicians who do whatever the lobbyists tell them to do because they're more interested in themselves and enriching themselves at the expense of the people. If they were more honest with themselves and if they were more self-aware of themselves, I think that these politicians would realize that this current method that we have is not the best method, and that there has to be a more efficient way to help people out and to make this world a better place than to just treat their status as a politician as just a job that they have for survival. Right? These politicians are in survival mode. The CEOs, they're in survival mode. And they don't realize that they already have more than they need. And they don't know how to get out of this system. All right, such people dominate and take advantage of others without considering anyone except themselves, using mantras like survival of the fittest and God helps those who help themselves. They've created elaborate control systems, often clothed with respectability, as businesses and corporations, which extracts benefits from workers, the same as any opportunist. This justification takes resources from others with complicated reasons or rights which most people fail to resist or understand. Thus, paternalistic systems rule the day and take advantage of economic disparities called profits or earnings, which increase over time. This is called the creation of wealth. And while some people use wealth to become richer, what's left unspoken is that what creates wealth also creates poverty. And it was mentioning earlier in that paragraph how these people who are benefiting off of capitalism make the excuses of, oh, this is just how nature works. Nature is, nature involves survival of the fittest. And these people that are living in poverty are just not fit enough. They're not fit enough like the rest of us. And that's a really primal way of thinking. Things don't have to be, with such a conscious species like humans, things don't have to be that way. And it's counterproductive because they're destroying the earth and they're destroying it for everybody else. They're destroying it for their descendants. So that ends it for chapter 2. All right, there's going to be 9 chapters total, and then I'll do the other readings later on. Let me know what you guys think. Take care. Stay informed.